right, so are you ready for some more? Yes, the lunch was great. So does anybody here feel that they have been doing a lot of changes the last years? Please raise your hand if you have. Yeah? So we have done a lot of changes, that's correct, and now we're tired, aren't we? That is called change fatigue. So to set the tone for this presentation today, I wanted to tell you a little story about a day that I remember very, very well. It was the 12th of March in 2020. And at that time, I was working with a customer. It was a mid-size tech company based in Oslo, Norway. And in this particular day, I was working in their office. So we were sitting down with the leader team and the CEO, and we were working on the main strategy for the company and also the people strategy. And we had some information about the virus already. So we knew something about it, but we did not know how the future would look like at that time. So we were working for some hours, 3-4 hours, I think. And then we went for lunch. And our way to the lunch, we were looking at employees watching a giant TV screen on the wall. And they were looking at the press conference, and it was a press conference with our Prime Minister at that time. And she and her government was presenting the situation about COVID-19. And they also told us that they wanted to shut down the whole society at the same day. So I was looking at the employees, and I saw in their faces that they were quite shocked and also anxious. So we did not eat any lunch that day. We went back to the office and we were talking, and we decided that we wanted to send them home as soon as possible. But we wanted to have a digital meeting straight after they came home. And in this meeting, we wanted to establish a great communication so that everybody felt that they were safe and could talk about their thoughts and their feelings around the situation. We were also giving some advices about how to work in our home office in the nearest future. And we really wanted to talk and listen to people. So, as we all know, the pandemic was a significant shift for us in the history. And now we are in 2024, and a common expression these days is before and after the pandemic, which refers to what we did before the pandemic, the shift, and what we do after. Because from this time in our history, a lot of things changed, and we still do a lot of changes. And this also affected our company, our business, and our jobs. So today I was thinking that we were going to take a look at the video. It's a video about the inner processes and how we can work with people and with change. So let's take a deeper dive into this. So change are here to stay, and that is why it's so important for us leaders to work with our employees' internal processes. Change can lead to resistance, and therefore I would like to deep dive into why people resist change, and is there any other responses which is common, and is there really the resistance, and is there really the change that people resist, and how can we as leaders work with our employees in the organizations for even better leadership through change. On a neurobiological level, our brain is developed for thousands of years ago. And one part of the brain, the oldest one, is responsible for our survival. This part of the brain is called the sensory brain, and often also called the reptile brain. This part of the brain is the oldest, and it responds to dangerous situations. This response was helpful for our ancestors to feel safe for several thousand years ago, when they were living in caves and were haunted by, for instance, a lion or a bear. But today, in these new times, we don't live this way anymore. But our sensory brains still exist, and it's programmed to want to feel safe. This is a deep need that we have. And we maintain this feeling of safety in our everyday lives in these new times with having permanent jobs, safe financials, permanent family ties, and great friendships. And when change appears in our everyday lives, for instance, it happens a significant change in our organization, this can in many people be perceived as danger. They feel overwhelmed by the new situation, which again is causing stress and insecurity. So when I talk to leaders, I sometimes ask them, what is the most difficult part of change in your organization? And what do you think the answer? It's not the new innovation, it's not the new structure, it's not the new processes, it's not the new launch or the new business. It's always the people, because people resist change. And the leader gets frustrated because they can't get the people committed, or the leader have already been talking to the people and they say that they are committed, but in reality, nothing changes. So people are going back to their old habits and old behaviors, and nothing really changes. So why doesn't this work out? We make one crucial mistake from the start as leaders. We're not curious enough about the loss. What is it that people actually resist? And what is behind the resistance? It's written one great leadership. People don't resist change, they actually resist loss. It's not the change that people resist, but it's what they lose when the change actually happens. And leaders spend so much time to think about what we want people to do in a new way that we forget what we ask people to give up. It is made a study by Merlin Venus, which is a Dutch professor. The study was made by students that were divided into two different groups. Both groups of students were experiencing big changes in their school. Both of the groups got messages
what the purpose for the change was, about what they should expect, and what the benefits for the future was. The second group got even more additional messages. And this was that the core aspect of these changes, for instance, teamwork, fairness, professionality, those will not change. So the students in the second group were 4 times more likely to accept the change and adjust their behaviors. This shows us that people are more open to change when they know what will stay the same. So it is important for us leaders to make people feel and know what will continue and what will stay the same, so that people feel what they can recognize and what they already know something about. So when I was working with a mid-sized tech company in Oslo, and we were sitting at home working from there under the pandemic, I was working with the leader and the people, and this company needed to do a lot of different changes to be profitable under the pandemic. And one day, one of the most experienced employees contacted me for a conversation. And after some time in this conversation, she said, I've now been working for this company for a decade, and I've been a top performer for a very long time, and people come to me because they know I can answer and they look up to me. And now, because of this change, I don't know anything anymore, and I'm not sure if I can or if I want to change. So the best people you have in the organization can feel that they lose status, which again can cause resistance to changes. Resistance to change can appear in people because of uncertainty, and the level of uncertainty can be different from person to person. So let's understand more about the different responses we can have when changes occurs. Let's take a look at this curve, which is the emotional response curve and is made by Elisabeth Kübler-Ross. She was a doctor and a physician, and she was studying thousands of people and their inner processes when they learned that they were going to die. The people would die because of cancer or other sicknesses. A person could, for example, die within the next 4 months because of cancer. And based on interviews, she wrote about it, and she also made this model. She found out that people will respond to the message that they were going to die in a very systematic way. The people that got this message started with reacting quite stable and balanced. So they felt fine for a while. But after that, it did sink in that they were going to die, and then the shock came. And they were totally overwhelmed by the situation. The brain stopped thinking, because the brain will protect the person in this moment. After that, they were thinking more about this, and they started to deny. No, this can't be true. This is not for me. Maybe for the others, but not me. But after that, they understood that this is actually true. And then they started going into a phase of anger. Why me? This is not fair. I have done this right, and this is the way it is. It's really not fair. After that, they went into what we call bargain. So they started to negotiate. They now understood that they might did some mistakes. So they asked for higher powers, for instance, God, please give me another chance. I can do this. I will do this. And then at the end, people learn that they can't deny it. They cannot be angry or they cannot negotiate because they will die anyway. And that is the truth. And in that moment, they learn that they are helpless. They couldn't do anything about it. And if people feel helplessness, it's a good chance that they go into a depression. This happens when they feel like a victim. But after a while, people started to develop new behavioral patterns. They started to look at the current situations from the new perspective. They started to appreciate things in life that they had and that they did not really thought about before. They felt that they were happy about spending a lot of time with their own family. So they are now moving into a level of acceptance. They accept the new situation as it is. So this is the way most people respond to change. And it's quite similar from person to person. Of course, the people in the organization will not die, but after what happened in 2020 and after all that happened after, we should expect that changes are here to stay. And that is also necessary for our organizational growth and development and for our lives in general. So the different stages in the emotional response curve is very often the way people feel and they are going through when changes occurs. So how can we as leaders work with the people and the resistance? I guess for those of you who have a partner, you're having one side of the bed that you normally sleep on. So what happens if your partner suddenly sleeps on your side of the bed one night? You would react, wouldn't you? You would question your partner, why are you sleeping there? But what if your partner communicated to you before he or she were doing so? Would you react in the same way? I guess you wouldn't. So communication is an important part of making people understand the change and what they can expect. And by good communication, you as leaders will open up for a good environment, good conversations with the people, so that you can talk to them about their concerns and thoughts. Have you been stuck in an elevator before? That's a panic situation, and you certainly don't have any control. You can't do anything, and you don't have the control over the situation. And that's a fundamental need for us humans. The next point is about opinion leaders, which is the people that we have in almost every group that is more accepted than others. They don't have the formal power as you leaders, but they are accepted. And other people listen to these opinion leaders. And if opinion leaders say that they are not happy about the change, the rest of the group are also likely to be the same. I'm sure you have seen these leaders in different groups before, and they are the ones that raises their voice. The thing here is that they can change the mind of the people in both directions, in positive direction and negative direction. This part is about involvement. Let's imagine that your husband or wife one day just told you that he or she suddenly just booked a week for a holiday in Spain and you had to pay 50% of it. How would you react to that? I guess most of us would like to be involved before the decision is made. And that is the same in an organization. So if possible, with good involvement by the people before the decision is made, is definitely the best. Then they will feel more in control, they will feel more motivated, and will very often be more positive. And they will feel that they more own this decision, and this will therefore make it easier when the change is going to be implemented, and often you get less resistant. So our people's actions and outcomes are very much triggered by thoughts and some events. So let's deep dive into understanding what mindset really is. So change is for people an event. Something happens. For instance, you as leader present a change in the organization to your people in a meeting when everybody is there, or in a one-to-one meeting. You see, for every situation in life that comes up, we as humans get one thought in our mind, which is leading to multiple thoughts, which again is leading to a feeling, and this feeling leads to actions, which will affect the change you are and eventually the company. When people feel uncertainty, it appears different thoughts in their mind, and very often one thought is something like this: can I really do this? Am I enough? So they often feel that they're not good enough, or they are not sure if they can do it. You see, these thoughts they have comes from their beliefs, and the reason for thinking, can I really do this? Am I good enough? Is there because of the different rejections that they had in their lives. Most people start creating their own beliefs in their childhood. Maybe someone told them that they could not make a task or handle a situation when they were little. And this happened more than once. And after a while, this came to be their own belief. And they still think this is true today. Even though they are grown-ups now, they still carry around this belief that they made for themselves when they were children. And this again affects their thoughts, their feelings, and eventually their behaviors today. So we as leaders need to communicate well with our employees and listen to their thoughts and feelings that they really are thinking about. Let's be curious and find out. Also, how you set your mind is important for mindset, changes, and more or less resistance. So, are your people coming from a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? You see, mindset is a set of assumptions, theories, and beliefs that we agreed to, consciously or unconsciously, to make our life easier. This helps your people to understand themselves. The way they think influences the way they feel, how they behave, and the results that they produce for themselves and eventually the organization. So how can we as leaders turn people's mindset around and change perspective of a person that is stuck? What is the role of positive thoughts, positive emotions, and positive psychology in one's life? They have a growth mindset if they believe that the qualities they are born with and are in now is only a starting point of their development and can be cultivated through their own efforts. The goal must be for you as leader to help them with their mindset and make them realize that their mindset are just a set of beliefs that can be changed. Let's take a look at fixed mindset. Because your people have a fixed mindset if they believe that their qualities are carved in stone, that they have to live with that they were born with and what they managed to achieve exactly now. If the employees feel that they are not good enough, this belief often comes from that they had rejections in their lives, and this could be from different situations. It could be that they once did a new piece of work that they showed to someone and they got rejected and told that this work were not good enough. And because of this situation, they started to believe that they are not good enough and that they cannot handle a new task. And they still hold on to this belief and generalize them across. This belief is not true, of course, but when they have this kind of beliefs, they operate from their own thoughts and meanings and what they experienced, not what other experienced or what other means. These beliefs give them a singular perspective of what happened, not what really happened. It tells them what they think is safe, and they carry on to this belief and make that belief to their own reality. So let's say somebody rejected them once or twice, and now they feel that they are not good enough, and that makes them feel safe, because now they will not try new tasks anymore. So as leaders, try to find out what kind of beliefs your people are operating from and work on their beliefs. And how do we do that? Let's challenge these beliefs and make these beliefs positive for them and not something that is limiting for them. So let's imagine a person that was in the organization for a decade or two, and suddenly a big change were coming. Let's say the company was going to merge with another one, and this person needs to change a lot of things in their job and environment. The first thought to this person could be, now I will lose my job. If you're able to turn them around to a growth mindset, he or she would think instead, oh, the company is merging and a lot of new roles will appear. This means I have more chances to grow because now this is an open book. And anybody that is performing at a high level as me will get the best positions. This will actually give me more opportunities in the future. I'm really looking forward to it. Depending on what your people choose to think, they will get an emotion that will dictate the action that they take. The journey that they take from thought to thinking will define their outcome in the organization. Depending on what your people choose to think, they will get an emotion that will dictate the action that they take. The journey that they take from thought to thinking will define their outcome So how can we as leaders turn people's mindset around and change perspective on a person that is stuck? This is the role of positive thoughts, positive emotions, and positive psychology in one's life. There was an experiment made by elementary students. They were given a test. So they took the test, and without being told the actual results, the test results were randomly assigned to different students. Some got A+, some got B, C, some got A++, and so on. And what they wanted to see, if you just told somebody about great results, would they perform better at that something? What happened 8 months later? These students did the test again, and they that were told that they had higher performance tended actually to score better than the students that got the message 8 months before that they scored lower. The funny thing here was that when they were looking at the original test, what they saw was that low performer actually scored higher and high performers scored lower. So there is power in positive thoughts, emotions, and understanding of selves, and by choosing better actions so they could have better results. So if you tell them that you're smart, you're confident, and really, really good, what tends to happen is that they feel they are good at that skill. They feel they are confident and wants to get even better at it. So work with moving them from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. They can create whatever they want to do in their lives. So how can we as leaders work with our people and employees to get them to choose other thinking patterns? Make them look at themselves from an outside perspective. Get them to zoom out, and preferably by giving them questions. Make them choose a different perspective, and it's easier to get them into a positive thinking pattern. Break down what they are struggling with and also what they want and what they need, versus saying what they actually need. So it comes clear to them what they need, what they should think, and what they should do.